Welcome back. I am Pastor Micah, and it's so good to see you. This is part 5, our final part of this amazing series, Goals. And as we start today, I want to look back on this past week, and I want to ask you a simple question. What did you do this week? Like, how did you spend your time this week? Did you spend your time eating a bunch? Did you spend your time studying? Did you play a lot of basketball? Did you study a lot? What did you do? Try to picture where your time went. You get what I'm saying? Now, as you're visualizing what you did, who you talked to, what you did to spend time, I want you to consider, what did you do to grow? Like, not eating spinach and becoming the cartoon Sailor Man. I know that's super old. That's what came to mind. But what did you do to grow? Not physically, but what did you do to become a better person? Like the best version of you, living your best life. What did you do this week to become the better part of you? Like maybe you wanted to be a good friend, so you decided to do something more friendly that's not normally you. Or maybe you said, I'm gonna be a better student, so you would focus this week. Or, I'm gonna be a better son to my mom, so I'm gonna clean the kitchen today. I don't know, but I wanna know, how did you this week become a better person? See, when I think about it, I think about this story of one time, I played a practical joke on my mom. Now, this was really bad. I'm not even going to go there. My sister had the idea, and we wanted to fake like I was getting injured. And this is really extreme, okay? And so she had this idea of turning on the garbage disposal and acting like I was losing my hand. Now, that's horrible. We were young, it's horrible. Okay, so we fooled my mom, and I was always a good actor. And my mom came down screaming, ah! She actually fell down the stairs, and we got in so much trouble. And so the next week, I wanted to do all I could to be the best son that I can be. So how I spent my time was I cleaned everything. I didn't even ask. I didn't even show my mom. I cleaned everything. I cleaned her room. I cleaned the living room. I vacuumed the stairs. I wiped everything down because I was doing all I could with my time and my energy to be the best I can be, because I wanted to be a better person. And that's really what I'm asking today. So here's my holdup. At some point, you probably are asking, okay, why are you asking all these questions? Why are you asking me about all this growth stuff? I want to grow, don't you? The reason I'm asking all this, friend, why I'm asking all this, young man or young lady, is for this simple reason. I think all of us really want to do good, and we want to improve, and we want to be the best friend, or we want to be the best family member, or we want to be the best follower of God. But if I were to be honest, we all desire and have the aptitude to want to be the best, but we don't always allocate our time appropriately. Like, we don't spend all the time that we should, or the energies, or intentionalize our pursuit to become these actual people. So let's imagine for a moment what we do in a day. Like, we wake up. Now, I don't know what kind of alarm you use in the morning. I currently use my iPhone, but I used to, when I was your age, I had an alarm clock. So I would set my alarm clock and I would wake up, turn it off. All right. And then I would get done. I would wake up, get dressed. Okay. I would get ready for school. And in these days, school might be going from your room to the kitchen table, grabbing your laptop and opening up Zoom. All right. Maybe that's the process. And then you go through all your sessions, you eat lunch, and then you get done and you do some kind of activity. You finish all your work, you do your schoolwork. Yeah, I mean, what is that? Mathematics, your language, your arithmetic. Do they even say arithmetic still? Whatever and what have you, you do all that, you take care of it, you finish all your homework. If you're in a sport or you're in some kind of league, you go to practice or you get done in that capacity, and then you jump on technology. You eat food, you jump on technology. Some kind of technology is in front of you for millions of hours, and then you go to bed. And then the next day comes and you do it all over again. Now, there's nothing wrong with all of that. It's okay. But if you're not careful, life will start to become just going in the motions. You'll start to do things and then do things and then do things and then do things. And before you know it, you have a life full of things that are not necessarily adding to you. And I'm not mad at you. I get it, because we all are in this boat together, okay? But here's where it's troubling. Here's where it's troubling. Let me read this to you. Because if you're not making a deliberate decision to grow into the person you want to be, you're at risk of becoming someone you don't want to be. Like, this is pretty real. And again, you might be saying, come on, I'm a middle. This shouldn't be relevant to me. But it is. You see, whether or not we're moving in one direction or the other, like we're investing when it comes to becoming the kind of person we desire to be, we're either going in the right direction or we're going in the opposite direction. Are you following what I'm saying? Like, you this week might not have made a decision to become a better friend. And that's fine. And maybe you did it 2 weeks in a row. But on the flip side, you didn't out of nowhere say, I'm going to be a terrible friend. Okay, let me say this to you. Growth in either direction takes time. And that's such a powerful line. And while 1 week you might not have added more or less to that friendship bundle or to become a better son, like I did after I tricked my mom and scared my mom and she was upset at me, okay? Maybe you didn't do that, but small decisions over time start to accumulate. Now, let me give you a practical example. Okay, let's imagine for a moment that we're in the ocean, and it's easy in Florida. In Colorado, that was hard for me, but in Florida, it's easy. Imagine you're in the ocean and you're just floating, and you can see in front of you, hey, mom, what's up, friend? Okay, you're there, you're chilling, you got your right floaties, you're there, you're chilling, but you're not paying attention to the drift. You're not paying attention to the drift. And just let 20 minutes pass. Let 20 minutes pass and not paying attention to the drift, all of a sudden you can start to just drift. And not paying attention, 25 minutes pass, and before you know it, your scenery starts to change. And you're like, what is taking place? What is happening? And before you know it, those who you're close with, those things that matter, are not in front of you because you didn't pay attention to the subtle things that were taking place. See, it's just like that in the growth department. It's just like that. The same is true when it comes to growth. One deliberate bad decision with another. Beverly talked about it last week. One thing upon another actually will perpetuate, okay, the opposite. See, understand, 1 week without spending time improving yourself deliberately, okay, might not be that big a deal, but over time, you will start to drift. And it doesn't take long. And before you know it, you start forgetting who you are. And those watching you actually can perceive it. So why does this even matter? Like, seriously, why does this even matter? Well, I think it matters for so many reasons. I mean, think about it. The main reason that's very, very clear is we all want to grow. Would you agree? We all want to grow. We all want to be around people that are joyful, that are peaceful, that are patient, that are encouraging, right? Like, you never would want to be around a friend who is mean, who's rude, who gossips, and who's downright dirty towards you. You would want to rather be with a friend who loves you, who got your back, who's encouraging, and who walks with you, right? I mean, you think that's a crazy question. What about this? Would you rather want a coach or a teacher who screams at you and yells at you and goes ape? Or would you rather want a coach or a teacher who's patient and who's understanding and encouraging? For me, that's obvious, but maybe not for you. I don't know. Would you rather want an older brother or sister who slams the door and yells all the time and never shares their stuff? Or would you rather have that sibling who's generous with their stuff, who's open with their time and desires to spend time with you? For me, this is very easy to determine, but you have to understand something. We rather be around these type of people that are kind and that are loving and that are gentle and that have patience. And truth be told, we want to be those people as well because we want people to want to be around us like that. See, we have a bottom line today, and it's our goal of today. And that goal is very simple, The goal is to grow. But I have a simple question. As we go into this, how do we grow? So here's the truth. We've been in the book of Galatians, and we have been talking about a guy named Paul. You've learned a lot about Paul, his background, how Jesus had changed his life, and he wrote a letter to the people of Galatia, And this is the book of Galatians. So if you've never read the book, I want to encourage you, pause everything and let's read this book, because 6 chapters, they're not long chapters. They will bless you and they will help you. But Paul gets into some language in chapter 5 that can be confusing if you don't know. He says a term like, don't gratify the flesh, but live by the Spirit. So that might confuse you being where you are. So let me help you out, Paul was simply saying, don't live for yourself. Don't live to please yourself. Don't just do it for your good because it's your good and all good, but live like God is on the inside of you because that's His Spirit on the inside of you, and do it for Him. See, that's simple. Don't do it for yourself. Do it for Him. If we are doing stuff to live for ourselves, like if we're doing things that are just for us, by us, for our future, only for us, you get a lot of us, We'll be living by the flesh. But Paul gave some language, and he gave some things in order for you to understand how we are to live by. Here's what he says in Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 through 23. He says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things, there is no law. That's a very, very good verse, It's simple and it's hard at the same time. You might be looking at that and seeing a list of things: love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, right? Self-control. Those are 9 things that potentially can be difficult, But Paul was saying these embody who you're living by. And this helps us because it radiates off of us. You have to ask yourself, are these qualities that I want to have? Are these qualities that I need? Are these qualities that will help me? So that's a good scripture, but I want you to imagine for a moment yourself. Now I have a nice purple bucket here. Say this is you. Let's put your name on it. Put your name right there perfectly, So my name is Micah, so I'll put Micah there. I am purple, right? So if this is you, right now you would be kind of empty. There is nothing on the inside of you, So we mentioned earlier the alarm clock. We mentioned earlier the studies. We mentioned earlier the millions of hours on some kind of, device or in technology. That's what you put in. But let's take and consider what Paul just said. He said, here's what love looks like lived out, right? So he says that love, put a little love in our heart. Okay, that's good. You see the red love. Okay, he said, we're gonna need a little patience, right? Let's put that in. Okay, he said we're gonna need some kindness. Yes. But what about what's the next one? What about some goodness? See, you need some fruit of goodness, right? What about gentleness? Let's get it. Okay. Yep. You can't do this without faithfulness, because God wouldn't give us love if we can't be faithful. But what about, I think I said gentleness. I skipped one. Okay. What about self-control? That's an important one. Okay. Now, if you look on the inside of you, you got some good fruit on the inside of you. All right. Now, how much better are you with love on the inside of you? Like, you would want to spend time with you with love, right? Absolutely. Now, aren't you a better person when you're kind? Right? When you're kind. What about you're a better person when you're patient? You would want to spend time with a patient person, right? Yeah, you're better. What about if those that are gentle and loyal, you would want to spend time with you? Absolutely. See, I'm going somewhere with this, that you with these fruit on the inside of you are so much better than you are with the other stuff. Okay, so investing in yourself, putting in yourself, it's gonna be altogether better, and you will be the best you. But you have to understand something. The best you is with God. The best you is actually spending time with God and His Word and reliant on His Spirit. Okay, so this is what Paul was saying. So if you can imagine all those traits and then consider a tree, right? Have you ever taken fruit off of a tree and eaten a wonderful apple or a mango or something of the like? Have you ever done that? Now, you have to know this. A tree that's bad can't produce good fruit. That's a fact, right? But a tree that's good, it's prepared to produce amazing fruit, and we want amazing fruit. Well, it's no different. It's no different. Imagine taking a tree, fruit from a tree that's a bad fruit. It's rotten, it's messed up. But a tree that produces wonderful fruit, it needs to be planted. It actually needs to be cared for and nurtured with water and things. So if it's like that for a natural object, don't you think that it's the same with us, right? It's very important. Let me read this to you. In the same way, you can tell a lot about a tree based on its fruit that it produces. And you can also tell a lot about a person based on the kinds of fruit and qualities their life produces. See, as Paul said, and we mentioned this earlier, if we're going in the right direction, you can really detect that by the fruit that we're producing. You can tell if someone is praying or reading. You can tell if someone has been with the Lord. But on the contrary, you can tell when someone hasn't. It just comes out of them. The fruit that they produce and what they say and what they do actually will be contrary. And so we have to be mindful of that. Remember, we said it earlier, the goal is to grow. See, this is what God wants, and this is all that Paul was trying to encourage the people in Galatia, that the goal is to grow. He wanted them to focus on growth. And you have to know why is this so important? Why is this so important for you and me to desire to grow? Well, let's take a moment and look later in the chapter, just a few more verses. It says in Galatians 5:25, it reads, "If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit." I'm going to repeat it while it's on the screen. If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. See, in other words, we can't grow by ourselves. And I love this so much, because God never leaves us by ourselves. He never leaves us by ourselves, but we also can't grow by ourselves. See, we can't do it without the help of God's Spirit. And I love that verse so much. Okay, so if we want to grow in the right direction, we have to make sure we're walking with God. Now, what does that mean? See, we need to surround ourselves with the Lord. Surround ourselves by spending time with Him and praying to Him and being around others that are pursuing Him. Why? Because it helps us in the growth. It perpetuates us. It encourages us. And that's what this thing is all about. Okay. I said this many times, and this is the third time, but the goal is to grow. And the only way that we can grow, okay, is with God. See, God's the only one that can help us to reach His goal, which should be our goal, to grow. So how does this apply to me? Well, I'm going to grab this bucket that represents you and me. Okay. So hello, me. Hello, you. All right. You see the fruit within. Okay. Now I want you this week to consider. Okay. Look back at the list that we listed earlier. That came from Galatians 5:22-23. Think about the 9 fruits that we discussed earlier. Okay. And I want you for a moment just to consider, what fruit would you like to focus on? Now, let's just give a clause. I don't want you to focus on all the fruits this week. I don't want you to focus on the 9. Sometimes we look at lists and we see a list of things, and before we even start, we discount ourselves to say, no, that's too much. And we make an excuse for it, or we say it's overbearing. No. I just want you to consider, do you need a little love? Do you need a little patience? Do you need a little more kindness or goodness? Do you need gentleness, or do you need faithfulness? Maybe you need some self-control. I want you to zoom in on this week and consider one simple fruit, and I want you to focus on it. And then I want you to take a prayer, or take a moment to pray, and take it to Jesus and pray, Lord, would you help me to zoom in, to grow on this so that I can be the best me that you call me to be. And I want you to take that fruit and focus on it. Don't focus on the 9, just focus on the 1, okay? And the Lord will lead you. He will lead you, okay? And as He leads you, He wants you to grow by it. So that's the simple challenge from this series. This whole series was simply about us growing, because the goal is to grow. So let's land this plane. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today. But before we head out, before we go on to our daily task or whatever we're going to do today, I want you to consider a question. What's one thing I want to grow more in my life? That's a simple question, but that's a big deal. I want you to chew on that, okay, and let us know. This series has been awesome. We hope that you've enjoyed it during this time. We can't wait to see you, obviously, but summer is here. So as you embark upon this week, there will be no Zoom sessions, no Zoom Tuesday this week, simply because we know you're finishing up school and you're probably zoomed out, okay? But we want to invite you to a new series that we're starting this Wednesday, and we can't wait to see you. All right, God bless you. See you soon. Yeah? Do you love it? What? You hear? I made a goal. You made a goal. We made a goal. My bucket of chicken.